Anyway, thank you, Blair, for inviting me to campus. I'm really excited to be here. I came thinking about speaking just to international students. Then it occurred to me that there may be non-international students also in the room. And then I look here, there's actually not just students, or in the traditional sense, students here in the room as well. So I want to kind of chat a little bit about what I'm seeing in terms of where AI is impacting our lives, how it'll impact students' lives as they move forward, and what we need to be thinking about. And I came up with 5 rules I want to share with you at the end of it. But first, I want to just give you a little bit of a context, right? So like Blair said, I'm originally from India, from a city called Bangalore. I moved here 34 years ago. And back then, many of us, students who came here, came because the US was the center of opportunity. And I'm sure many of our international student friends here in this room probably also came because they're thinking about the US being that center of opportunity. It still remains so, but things have changed quite a bit in the last 34, 35 years, and they're increasingly changing now with the impact of AI. And for us who are not international students who came here looking for that kind of opportunity, some of those same changes will apply and impact us as well. Whether you are gainfully employed right now or you're in college right now thinking about what to study or what majors to pursue, et cetera. So when I came, like I said, it was because the US was the center of opportunity, because we came thinking, what majors would make sense for us to pursue? What industries are growing? Where is the best, fastest career path for me to get a degree and make a ton of money, right? And I'm sure a lot of students, even today, entering college, whether you're coming from overseas or whether you come in just from down the street, still kind of thinking the same way. Am I right on that? You're kind of thinking about the same thing. But interestingly enough, as you probably already have realized, the traditional model of what we thought college was going to be is changing, and it's changing fast. Back then, we came thinking you study hard, you get a degree, you find a job, and you just progress. That is changing quite rapidly, as you see. It's actually disappearing faster than even our own universities are willing to admit. Universities find themselves in a really tough position. So if you're an administrator at a university or a faculty, some of those challenges will be, what have we been doing for hundreds of years? Is that what's going to be relevant moving forward? Is a 4-year, 120 credit degree that students come in and select and attend a school within a university and get the degree, will they actually be relevant, right? So when I came, people who are my age coming into college, they were thinking about those kinds of questions. But I think the anxiety is a little bit different now from my conversations with students. Because now students are probably wondering more about the degree I'm getting right now, will it even be worth it? The skills I'm learning that I'm paying so much money for, will it even be relevant in an AI-powered world when I get there? So I understand that anxiety. But I think at the same time, what I want to tell you is the good news of that is that you're entering, or you're in rather, what promises to be the most transformational time in human history. I know that sounds like hyperbole. Many times in the past, people have said that when the internet came out or back when the printing press was invented. But I honestly, truly believe with what I am seeing with AI and what I've been able to do with AI and what I'm seeing in the AI world, we are living in probably the most transformative period of human history. So if you understand what's going on with AI and how it's impacting us, I think you're going to be really well prepared to be very successful as you grow and as you get your degrees into the future. I promise you, especially the people I'm looking at here, much younger than I am, will probably have some of the best opportunities that you can even dream of, or even beyond your dreams. That I'm going to guarantee you. And I'm going to share a little bit about what I mean by that, right? And how to prepare and position yourself for that. What is changing? And what do we need to understand of what AI is doing to us in this world, right? First thing, AI is reorganizing intelligence. What I mean by that is that it's not replacing humans entirely. What it is doing is it's replacing what I call routine cognition. Routine cognition is the predictable stuff that we end up doing all the time. So as you look at what AI could do potentially in terms of the kinds of agents that are being developed, the workflows that you can create using AI agents, what will it actually replace, right? Think about some of the routine things that you may do in your day-to-day job or that you can imagine doing in a career that you're planning for. The predictability, the predictable thinking stuff, like the accounting things or the logical reasoning things, the careers that usually kind of encompass all of that, right? So if your value comes from repeating what already exists, if your job that you're doing every single day, the value that you derive from that is based on something that's repeatable, predictable, logical, AI will do that faster and cheaper. Which means if that's the kind of work you're preparing for, that's the kind of careers you're preparing for, or in your current jobs, if you really do an honest analysis of what you do on a day-to-day basis, if the value you're offering to your current employer or your future employers is something that's predictable, repeatable, logical, AI will replace you. But if your value comes from imagining what does not exist yet, that AI can never replace. Agree with me? Okay, cool. While at the same time, when you think about careers in the work world, as it's continuing to evolve, on one hand, as we all see, governments are building up more and more barriers, right? The way that I think about it sometimes is, but particularly for our international students here, is we all came here with the dream of getting an American education, getting our OPTs and H-1Bs, and then going on to work. A lot easier when I was in college than it is now, right? And increasingly around the world, we're seeing those kinds of walls and barriers being put up. But the beauty of it is technology, especially AI, is breaking down all of those barriers. There are no barriers. There are no geographical barriers for work anymore. Because you could be in any part of the world and do your job, given the future of work as I imagine it, as you may imagine it, without having to worry about any of the governmental or bureaucratic or the visa restrictions, et cetera, et cetera. And that could also apply to those of us who are citizens in this country, in this case, where we don't have to worry about a visa, an OPT, or an H-1B. We could potentially be anywhere in the world and still function very effectively, given the technological advances that we're going through, okay? The third thing that's obviously happening is knowledge is no longer secure. I mean, we're on campus at the University of Mississippi, a 160-some-year-old university, right? We're in a building, I see a library over there, classrooms, faculty. All of this exists and still existed and it still exists because this is where knowledge was housed. You had to be in a classroom to listen to a faculty member. You had to go to the library to get a book to kind of get the knowledge, the information that you needed. But not anymore. It's not secure anymore. AI is making our lives so much easier. I mean, we already know, even with the internet revolution, with Google, access to information was so much easier than coming to a library and checking out a book. I remember being in college, I had to go to a library to get a reference book to cite for a project or a report. And then obviously, Google made it obsolete. Now imagine all the things you guys are doing with just ChatGPT alone. Everything is just in your pocket. I have no idea what quantum computing is, but in 5 minutes, I can get you all the answers you need. If not, from my phone, I could probably look at it on my glasses. These are AI-powered glasses. So if I really wanted to, I can search AI right in front of my eyes right now, right? So that's how insecure knowledge has become. And so when you think about, again, talking about value, right? The value used to be in a work environment or any kind of environment, any kind of ecosystem, that you were the most knowledgeable person. And that gave you a leverage, right? You came, I know I have this degree, I got this credential, I am knowledgeable, so I'm here. In the future, not even the future, even today, everybody here can be knowledgeable about every topic. I don't know what y'all's majors are, but I'm sure if you're discussing something, I could look up something relevant related to your major. So you no longer have the leg up over me just because you attended college and got a degree, right? So you kind of see what I'm saying there? So because it's insecure, it doesn't matter how much knowledge you are. It doesn't matter if you're the most knowledgeable person in the room, okay? What does matter is you are the most adaptable person in the room. And that's a very stark difference to kind of keep in mind, okay? So when you think about how am I gonna prepare for the future, if you're still thinking about knowledge expertise or predictable work, predictable careers, predictable future, you need to start rethinking that, okay? So the real risk students face right now, or for that matter, even employees in companies, you probably see every single day companies are laying off people. They're laying off people because they're replacing them with AI tools. Right, wrong, indifferent, is it wise, not wise? I mean, it's yet to see, right? I mean, there's still a lot of chatter out there, a lot of questions out there. So if you look at what your biggest risk right now, the risk you face is becoming predictable. So how do you prepare for a future where predictability is your greatest vulnerability? Right? Because predictable people are easy to automate. Predictable thinkers follow instructions. And predictable careers follow certain templates. And every single one of those people, thinkers, those kind of the careers, et cetera, will be obsolete because of technology. So your skill will be about being unpredictable, and rather the way I put it is, how do you reinvent value in the careers that you're interested in the degrees that you're getting, et cetera, et cetera. So when you look at, so I put a thing up here saying, when you're talking about some of the careers out there that are based on repeating knowledge, those are the careers that are at risk. So we're kind of at that reinvention of value point in time. So if you continue to stay on that track, you're going to become more and more obsolete. So really, it's about creating value, imagining something that doesn't exist. It doesn't matter what career you're in, what kind of field you're in, what your skill set, what your talent is. You need to be one of those people that reinvents value and creates things that don't exist anymore, okay? And I've been speaking about this for a while now, and I call it the human advantage economy. We went through several different economies, right? Several different revolutions, as we called it, the internet revolution. Now with the AI revolution, what we're entering, I predict, is what I call the human advantage economy. In this economy, what's most valuable is what makes us uniquely, irreplaceably human. And if we were to compare and contrast, right? So there are I've listed 5 human advantages that AI can never replace. Well, at least not till maybe AGI or ASI comes, but let's not worry about that future yet. In the current context over the next several years, I imagine, I don't think we're going to hit AGI anytime soon. So in this current context, what are those 5 skills that AI can't replace, right? The first one is curiosity. AI can answer all the questions. I can pull up ChatGPT right now and ask a question, it'll give me an answer. But it cannot decide which of those questions really matter. So it's the meaning making that we have that AI can't replace it. So curiosity is the first skill that we have to really hone in on and develop. Right? The second skill is judgment. Right? AI can predict patterns. That's what AI is. Everything about AI is just pattern recognition, right? AI can predict the pattern, but only humans can decide what is right. Right? Let that sink in for a second when you think about it, right? The third one is creativity. We look at some of these things and say, wow, AI is so creative. If you notice, I'm not looking at my slides because I just made this on Notebook LM. I jotted my thoughts down into a notepad, and I just put it on Notebook LM and said, create a slideshow for me, and it created it. Right? It's only creating this because it's a pattern. It recognizes it, it creates the slide for me. But I create the originality. AI can't. All it's doing is just recombining things that it already has been trained on. Okay? The fourth skill is empathy. AI can simulate situations, conditions, criteria, whatever, but only humans can connect. You could bring a robot here, train it with an AI-powered robot, and it could probably give you the same thing, but I don't think it would have the same effect as a human being sharing thoughts and having a conversation, right? It's only humans can connect, right? And the last skill is courage. AI calculates risk, right? Again, it's an algorithm, it's based on a certain calculation, predictability based on pattern recognition, right? But only humans can take it. We're the only ones who can take risks, right? AI is not about to take any risks yet, right? So in the age of AI, as you look at and think about your careers, going back to what I was saying about being the most knowledgeable person, right? Again, in the human advantage economy, it's not the people who are the smartest that will be winners. It's the people who are most irreplaceably, uniquely human that are going to be winners. So now if you take all of this and kind of put it in context in your own path, whether you're an employee right now and thinking about your career path, you're a student right now, maybe deciding as a freshman on what I want to study and what's out there, or a senior about to graduate and trying to enter the workforce, if you apply some of these principles and kind of create your own framework, that should help kind of decide or help you decide what steps to take next, okay? Let me share a couple things about my own journey. Blair talked a little bit about me coming from India as an international student coming to college. I came as a pharmacy student, but I don't do pharmacy. I'm here as an international educator, running an international education company. While I was a pharmacy student, I decided I wanted to do nothing with pharmacy. So I changed majors to genetics and cell biology. So my undergraduate degree is in genetics and cell biology. And to me, at that point, as an 18, 19-year-old, I didn't know anything about genetics or cell biology. I was just exposed to it. And I liked it, and I decided to take the risk to switch my major from what I always thought about being I grew up in a pharmacy. My dad's a pharmacist. To switch to genetics and cell biology. So that was my first exposure plus risk. 3 years go by, I'm graduating college, and our vice chancellor for student affairs calls me into his office and say, hey, I think you should be in student affairs. I had no idea what that meant. I'm an international student from India. I had no idea how universities work, right? So again, he exposed me to an area of work that may be better suited for me that I didn't know anything about. So I was exposed to that, and then I took that risk of switching from pharmacy to genetics to international. Try calling your parents back in India and telling them that you're not going to be a pharmacist, you're getting a master's in higher education administration, whatever that means, right? But exposure plus risk. And that led me to a job at the University of Minnesota. So I went to work, I live in Minnesota now, and I went to Minnesota because the University of Minnesota hired me. So I was working there. And then a friend of mine in town introduced me to a company called Ecolab that was back then, still is, the largest provider of cleaning solutions for every industry out there. And they were looking for somebody in human resources. I don't have an HR degree. I've never done HR. I mean, I've trained and managed some staff on campus, but I was exposed to an opportunity, and I decided to take a risk, leave what I went to graduate school for, to get that job at the university, at Ecolab in HR. So I was there for 4 years. And then our CEO and chairman at that time pulled me aside. It's like, what are you doing in HR? You should be in sales or marketing. You look like a sales guy. And I'd never done sales in my life before, but I took that exposure that he gave me and I decided to take the risk and switch to. 2 years go by, I run into this guy who also was from India, and he was running a very successful imported stone business, granite and marble and things like that. So I'm having a conversation with him, and he introduced me to that whole entire market. I didn't even know what granite was or marble was or tell the difference. He introduced me to a market opportunity in the retail side of granite and marble. So I quit a job at a Fortune 500 company to start a company called Stone and Tile, importing granite and marble from around the country, around the world rather, to sell to homeowners. So exposure to a brand new industry and a risk that I took led me to that opportunity. And then 3 years later, I decided, what am I doing selling granite and marble when I really am passionate about working with students, helping them realize their career goals, et cetera, et cetera. And that's when I decided to divest my interest in the stone business to start Gen Next Education. And that was because I was exposed to some of that goings on in the international education world through a friend of mine, and it kind of brought all of this back, so exposure plus risk, and that's what led me to this opportunity. And over the years, and if I look back at the last 16 years, next week marks 16 years since I started Gen Next, I look back in every different direction that we've gone, pivoted, changed, grown globally. At every opportunity, there was an exposure to something that I didn't know, but the willingness to take the risk is what led me to success, right? So if you're thinking about the kinds of careers you want to go into in whatever context you want to think about, make sure you are introducing new cultures, new ideas, and new discomfort into your day-to-day. And only then will you grow and be successful, right? Exposure plus risk equals success, right? So that's what I kind of base my whole career on, and I travel around the world, and I'm so lucky to be able to go speak with students around the world. And I've seen the transition from the predictable, I'm going to get this degree, I'm going to start in this entry-level job and work my way up, to something so unpredictable we don't even know what's going on in the future. And so I've come up with 5 rules that I want to share with you. And I want to have a conversation about that because I want to hear what you're thinking and how you're resonating with that, right? There are 4 on here, but the third one is over there. I don't know why AI did that, but I think I kind of know, but I'll get to it, right? First one, learn how to learn faster than anyone else. Whether it is in your core area of interest or expertise, or any passing idea or thought or interest you have to be one of the faster learners out there. Degrees expire. Learning how to learn never does, right? So if you're able to learn fast, what does that mean? I'll give you my personal example. I am not an engineer. I know I'm Indian, I know I'm South Indian, but I don't carry that gene. I love technology just because I'm just a techno guy. And even though I don't have a background in any of it, over the last 4 years, I've been teaching myself AI. And I've been learning in my industry, in my peer network, in our service provider side of the industry. Gen Next and us, me personally, have been one of the first people to do things in AI, because I believe that learning faster than anyone else is one of the biggest rules that I follow, and that's what I'm telling you to do. So yeah, you have to learn faster, okay? Rule number 2, I know we're all coached to come to school and get your degree, but while you're doing that, you go to the career services office and they talk about, where's your resume? What can you list? Titles, and this was my job description, here's my resume. That doesn't mean anything. That is not a proof of impact, right? There's no portfolio of what you've done. And so as you're thinking about preparing yourself, whether it's for a promotion in your current job or the first career job that you're going to take out there, whatever it is, I want you to think more in terms of proofs of impact, projects, portfolio, and not just a resume, right? And so in order to do that, as you're going through, whether you're in college as a student or you're working, what you need to do is you need to focus on what projects can I take on and work that's beyond my current job title or current class requirement, right? What experiments can I do? Even if I fail miserably, the more you fail, the better. And the more you fail earlier, even better, right? Capture the things you've built in a portfolio. So when you go for that promotion conversation or a new job, or when you go for that first job interview, or even for an internship, you have a proof of impact you can share, as opposed to, oh, here's my resume, because your resume will look just like anybody else's resume, because I can switch names on there, it'll all look the same. But your proof of impact is yours, original. Nobody else can claim the things you've done because that's what you've done. And that's what you need to capture, okay? Rule number 3, make AI your intern. Collaborate with it. I know there's a concern, especially at universities and high schools and schools right now, about cognitive offloading. What we're worried as educators is that students are using AI as a crutch. We ask you a question or give you a project, you go put it in ChatGPT and you present it, and you basically offloaded your cognitive ability, right? That's the worst thing you could do. It may be making things easier for you in the short term, but it's going to make it harder for you in the long term. So how do you use AI as your crutch, AI as your intern and not as a crutch? You work with it. Like, make sure that you treat it like your assistant maybe. You use it to amplify your thinking, not to replace your thinking. And we can spend a lot of time on how do you prompt and what kinds of things you engage the AI tools that you're using with that helps you amplify the way you're thinking right now. So, but that's one. Okay. Rule number 4, follow interesting careers, not safe careers, right? Interesting problems globally. Anything, anywhere you can find that you think would be of interest to the broader humanity, follow those. Don't get sucked into, but I've been told by my career advisor or my parents or my next door neighbor, whoever it is, that this is a safe career. There's no such thing as a safe career anymore. But if you ask people older, we knew what safe careers were. I decided to do certain things because in my mind I was like, that's a safer career than that career. No such thing anymore. So you have to chase interesting problems and not safe careers, right? Because safe careers will disappear. Interesting problems never will. They create opportunity. And rule number 5, and this is, I think, applies to everybody anywhere, is stay globally curious. Because your generation, and I'm speaking to the younger folks, not you, Blaine, will solve global problems. Because the kinds of issues that we're facing, climate, migration, economic uncertainty, ethics in every area, especially when it comes to technology, healthcare, just basic livelihood. I mean, we're right now dealing with an unwanted, unnecessary war, right? So things like that. Your opportunities is if you can apply your knowledge and your skill and apply it on a global level. And that also then, especially for our international students here, defeats the need or the question was, oh, I came here, I need to get my OPT, I need to get my H-1B to stay here and work, it's irrelevant. Because a global problem is universal. You could be anywhere in the world and still be solving American problems if that's what you really want to do, right? So that's what you want to do. And so last thing I want to say is that the future will not belong to the most qualified. I've said that before, the most knowledgeable, the expert. It belongs to those who are really uniquely, irreplaceably human. And so that's what I want to kind of leave you with, to stay curious, stay adaptable, stay courageous. But I want to stop there and see if you have any thoughts you want to challenge me on, or you want to share, you want to add to the conversation. So thank you for having me this afternoon, for the opportunity to share some of my thoughts with you. Yeah, thank you.